Hello.
Hey, sorry I missed your call.
No worries. Actually,
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. You're actually live on the Listen Nissim show right now. I'm here with my guest Andy Hirsh.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Nice.
Do you hear him?
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
So Andy's going to tell you a little bit about his project, and actually, I think you're the perfect person for some feedback.
Yeah, hi, Sarit.
Wait. Wait, I'm a little busy right now.
Okay, you wanna call back onto the show in like 10 minutes?
Yeah.
All right, sounds great.
Cool.
Okay.
Well, that was our first guest. Welcome back to the Listen Nissim show. I am Nissim, or as my grandparents pronounce it, Nissim. And today I'm here with my good friend Andy Hirsh from Olive Branch Pictures. How are you, Andy?
I'm doing very well, thank you, Justin. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to see your face. And we met at a Tribe 12 event in the city not too long ago, where we really hit it off, and we've been in touch ever since, about a year ago, right?
Yeah. It's been a pleasure knowing you.
At the time, you were telling me about a pretty interesting project that you had going on, and it's developed since.
Yes, it has.
Let us hear what you're doing.
Okay, so I officially launched Olive Branch Pictures in February of 2019 after winning the Brandeis University Spark Innovation Startup Competition. And since then, we have also won the Drexel University C. Wright Startup Competition. And I've gained a team of 7 interns, several partners, and a couple advisors, about maybe 9 advisors. And Olive Branch Pictures it's an idea I came up with about 2 years ago. I've been working on it nearly every day since. Basically, my theory is that epic animated musical feature film is the most powerful form of media communications and can and should be used to engage in conflict resolution. So the idea is to bring together a creative team of writers and animators and directors and actors and an advisory board that represents a full spectrum of ideologies and identities surrounding a particular conflict. It could be religious or gender-based or class-based or international conflict. And basically the idea is for them to collaborate on a story together that encompasses both narratives or the multiple narratives of that conflict to expose children to the humanity, culture, and perspective of the other, and in doing so, mitigate the cycle of hatred and xenophobia.
And what's the latest project or the next one that you're going to be working on?
So really, this is our first project. The first product of Olive Branch Pictures is the story of Shira and Amal, which essentially is about an Israeli girl from West Jerusalem and a Palestinian girl from East Jerusalem who use the power of music to bring peace to Jerusalem. And the idea is to use this as a medium for expressing both narratives, in the form of a dual narrative epic animated musical feature film. And it touches upon themes of trauma and education and the universal language of music and hope. And something that's really important is that I'm not claiming to have a political solution, but rather I believe that the best way to ensure that we have a equitable and healthy situation in that part of the world is to build trust on a grassroots level.
Before we go any more forward, let's actually go back. Tell us a little bit about your heritage, your grandparents from both sides, where they come from.
Yeah, so that's really important. And unfortunately, I have one living grandparent today. She's 98, and she was born in Belarus, and she came to America when she was about 3 years old. And my other grandparents great-grandparents come from Poland and Russia and Austria-Hungary, and they came to America in search of a better life, facing persecution in Eastern Europe, and one of my great grandparents had like a lumber industry that was seized by the Cossacks, and it was my grandmother, who I spoke about, who's still alive. Her father actually came because he was recruited for, I believe it was the New York Philharmonic as a cellist, and he arrived on his own in the very early 1900s, and he would send money back to his family in Belarus so they could come here. And they came here, but unfortunately, he died, actually. He got an infection in his hand, and in those days, that was the end of you. And I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, his daughter, his wife and daughters were sort of left to fend for themselves, and I believe it was, I guess it was my grandmother's sister who started her own like a textile dressmaking company at the age of 12, and started employing adults to work for her because she was so talented. That's at least the story I've been told.
How'd they get to Philadelphia?
So that's actually just my family is in Philadelphia. Both of my parents are from Long Island, and maybe in another life I grew up in New York City. But my dad particularly doesn't like all that hustle and bustle, and thought we'd live a more comfortable life in Philadelphia. He is an anesthesiologist at Cooper Hospital in Camden, just on the other side of the bridge. And my mother is a dentist in Center City, private practice, and also teaches dentistry at the University of Pennsylvania.
Before we continue, I'd be remiss not to offer you some of my avocado smoothie. Would you be interested to try it? No pressure.
I was definitely eyeing that, and I was curious what that magnificent green color was. But how about after the show?
Sure, that's a polite way to decline. So tell us about your high school times and transition to college.
Oof. Okay. Thank you for asking. High school was high school. I cannot say I knew myself nearly as well as I do now, and I just I worked really hard. I was told about the value of higher education, and it was a very competitive academic atmosphere, and I worked very hard to try to get into the top schools. And I guess when I arrived at Wesleyan University, I wasn't so ready for this new culture and reality. It was a very particular political and cultural atmosphere. I'd say very, very liberal. And I guess I was rather apolitical growing up. And that's a luxury I was able to afford, I guess, growing up with a certain degree of privilege. But I also I'm Jewish. If I didn't say that, that's a really important part of my identity. And I was raised in conservative Judaism, which isn't the same as conservative politics, but certainly is similar in the sense of conserving traditions. That's really, I think, the meaning of conservative Judaism. And I also have a rather conservative father, and I think my philosophy that I've developed is one of, I'd say, striving for centrism. To claim to be a centrist, I think, is a little bit dicey, because it's almost saying like I'm always right. But I just think it's really important to understand the values of liberalism and of conservatism, and sort of this following this belief in the middle path, that in order to make the right decisions in life and in our beliefs, we need to consider both sides.
Before we move on to your story in Israel, a big part of the Listen Nissim show is to explore one of my favorite topics, which is electronic dance music, alongside another one of my favorite topics, which is Jewish music. But I thought today, since instead of looking at a traditional Jewish prayer or song, we'll look at a song that my grandfather, who was born in Baghdad, actually used to sing a lot. It's called Wayak. Have you heard of it before? It's by Farid al-Atrash.
I can't say I have, but I'm excited to listen.
He was apparently, I think, an Egyptian, Syrian, big to-do singer. So we'll take a listen to the original song. We'll comment a little bit about it, and then I want to show you a modern rendition of it.
Cool, excited.
Let's do it.
حلوة وياك في صفاك وجفاك أنا راضي يا حبيبي برضاك وياك وياك الدنيا حلوة وياك في صفاك وجفاك أنا راضي يا حبيبي برضاك تعاندني تكيدني مطرح ما تروح وياك.
So, what do you think? What does it make you think about?
Well, I really like the pace, I guess, and the melody.
Mm-hmm.
What does it make me think about?
Look, we know that you're familiar with Arabic. Perhaps you understand the words?
I am familiar with Arabic. I'm not that good, but I've been studying. Well, I studied Modern Standard Arabic for a year at Wesleyan University, and I've continued my studies focusing on the Palestinian dialect for about a year, taking private lessons from a teacher in Al-Quds or Jerusalem. So I was kind of caught up with the tune, which I was bobbing my head to, but the words I caught, this is pretty easy. But Ya Habibi is Habibi is my dear, and Ya is kind of like yo, Philly terms. So it's yo, my dear, yo, my friends. So there's just such a friendly melody. It just makes you happy.
From what I understand, the words have to do with something about the world is beautiful with you. But here is the modern rendition by Borgor and Dudu Tasa.
الدنيا حلوة وياك في سفاك وقفاك أنا غد يا حبيبي بغداك وياك وياك الدنيا حلوة وياك في سفاك وقفاك أنا غد يا حبيبي بغداك تعاندني تقايدني ما تروح وياك تعاندني تقايدني ما تروح وياك.
So, very similar but very different. I know before the show we were speaking about the importance of modernizing traditional content. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I want to promote my friend Justin here a little bit. He has a really awesome music production company where he's taking Judaic nigunim, or spiritual melodies, and he's totally revamping them, giving them a modern electronic flavor, and I truly love it. It's something I've listened to that makes me not only bob my head up and down, but also feel the spirituality of the music and even a connection to God, not only from the music but from the words themselves. So this obviously isn't this doesn't have to do with religion or spirituality, but I really like it. I think it's really cool to relish and remember the classics and bring them back. I mean, I guess I'm a little bit cynical sometimes of modern music. I think there's a lot of egotism and just not understanding like true I don't know like what it is to truly be like a musical savant in this modern day and age of popular music. So I think it's really important to bring back the classics that have withstood the test of time.
So before we started this section of our program, I wanted to go to Israel, take the viewers, the listeners back to that moment when the seed for your idea was first planted.
Okay, thank you so much for asking about that. So I have lived in the Middle East and mostly in Israel for about a year. That was definitely a very transformative time in my life. I had spent 2 years at Wesleyan, and again, it's a very specific atmosphere, academically, politically, culturally, and it's a really, really tiny school in Middletown, Connecticut. And I wasn't so sure like the path I was going on with my studies and professionally. I was thinking about maybe one day I would be a U.S. ambassador maybe to Israel, where my heart was, I felt. And so there's also a lot of political pushback against Israel at Wesleyan, and I really did my best to try to understand those political views, and it left me feeling rather uncertain. I felt like I needed to try to understand Israel better for myself. So I took a gap year, and I started in India for 3 months volunteering in a slum outside Mumbai, which was an incredible experience. And then I left for Tel Aviv, where I lived for 9 months. And I studied at Tel Aviv University, creative writing, Arabic, Hebrew, film, and Middle Eastern history. And I also worked for the Moshe Dayan Center, a think tank for the analysis of the Middle East and Northern Africa. And I also worked for HIAS, which stands for the Hebrew Immigration Aid Society, an organization founded in the very late 1800s to rescue Jews from the basically oppression all over the world, and has evolved with the migration of the Jewish people around the world, mostly to Israel following its establishment in 1948. And after some of the larger waves of immigration to originally to the United States in like the early half of the 1900s, and then to Israel in the second half of the 1900s, they since sort of disaffiliated themselves from specifically the Jewish people and became a universal humanitarian organization rescuing refugees all over the world. And I was there helping with the resettlement of mainly Sudanese and Eritrean refugees in South Tel Aviv, which was a really incredible experience to witness that firsthand. And that was following a pretty tremendous interest that I developed in refugees and migration. I remember in my nationalism class at Wesleyan, I wrote a paper comparing and contrasting the Syrian refugee crisis to the migration of the Jewish diaspora in Europe, basically, comparing the Syrian and larger Muslim refugee population in Europe and how they're being treated and how they're assimilating and integrating into the societies, to how the Jewish people integrated into European society. There's differences specifically in assimilation, like the way that the Jews would adopt the surnames of the people they were in, whereas in today's society, the modern Muslim refugee immigrants are not doing that. And basically, it was just looking at history to try to find answers to the present and how we can avoid basically another Holocaust or just intercultural war against refugee people. Sorry, and I guess I'll continue talking about Israel. So I also got to meet my family in Israel. I have some distant cousins. That was really incredible. I was learning Hebrew, which I had technically learned my whole life, but the Hebrew schools in the United States aren't always so good. And also very significantly, I fell in love for the first time with this really terrific Israeli girl.
There we go.
That was definitely a big inciting incident. She was a violist and a peace activist, brilliant, and also practicing Buddhist, and would be attending Harvard. And I was just blown away. And culminating a lot of different experiences. I came up with this idea for this story, this epic animated musical feature film. I imagined that could help bring peace to that part of the world. And this was a culmination of my volunteer experiences. Also in Jordan, I volunteered in a Syrian refugee camp, the Zatari refugee camp, working under the South Korean government. That was really one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, and so eye-opening and powerful. And that really helped open up my understanding of, I guess, universalism. Also, my studies of Buddhism opened up that understanding. Just in terms of going into a foreign country and being told that they're going to hate me because I'm Jewish. And I've actually, in fairness, I wasn't allowed by the South Korean NGO I was working for. I wasn't allowed to tell anybody I was Jewish. But I entered that part of the world with a certain fear, and justified fear. But I really felt very safe, and that the people I was able to connect to, with my limited Arabic, were very kind to me, and the children I got to know, they liked me, and I just I think that we're sort of plagued by identity politics, and we need to treat each other as human beings and even brothers and sisters. So I was inspired by this girl I knew. She sort of became the protagonist of the story I was writing in wake of our I guess separation from each other. There was this hole that needed to be filled, and I thought I'd fill that with writing, and I was also taking in my love of animation, this nostalgia, this real necessity to create something. I felt that I had sort of stifled my creativity, like in high school, working really, really hard to achieve academic success, and also in college similarly. That I really needed to develop a creative outlet, and I thought I could do that with writing, and also bringing in this idea of tikkun olam, something a Jewish value that I had been raised with, and I had this dream, this castle in the sky. I referred to it, and I just thought, how many times in our life do we have a dream, and are we always going to look back and regret if we didn't pursue it? So this crazy big dream, I just thought I needed to try, and it's 2 years later, I do have a company, and I do have people working for me, and we are creating something, and I think that it could really help the world, and it could really become something.
Well, let's debate that with our second caller calling us back. We have a psychology major from Temple University. How are you?
I'm great. My name is Sarit, just so you all know.
Hi, Sarit. I'm Andy.
Hey. Nice to meet you, Andy,
Nice
through the phone, but nice to meet you.
Of course. Can I ask a bit more about you? Like, where are you from?
Yeah.
Anything you want to share? I'd love to get to know you better.
No, absolutely. I come from New Jersey, from like the north part of it.
Cool.
I am a junior now at Temple. Really, really great place. Never really thought that I'd, make it to Philadelphia. I thought I'd kind of go somewhere
Go the New
else.
York route.
Yeah, actually, I thought I'd go more north for some
Yeah,
reason.
I always say I always stick up for New Jersey because one of my best friends is he's from South Orange, and
Wow.
yeah, so I just
South Orange is pretty close to me.
yeah, I always got to stick up for New Jersey.
Oh, yeah, we need people like you.
Hey, Sarit, do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
If you're eating a bag of chips or something, can you stop for a moment?
I'm not eating a bag of chips, but I will stop what's ever making noise.
Listen, I think you two can have a great 70-second dialogue about identity and religion. Go.
Cool. Do you identify with a particular religious path? I'll say.
I would like to say I affiliate, but it doesn't define me because I'm not exactly sure what that path will be in the future.
Okay.
So
cool.
to be more specific, I was raised with conservative Judaism.
Cool. Yeah,
as
me
my
too.
religious
Actually.
path. No way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it was kind of like an identity crisis because my community
tell me
at
about
home is
it.
conservative, but then I went to a school that was Orthodox my entire life. And that was kind of a change for me. And then, I went to a camp that was conservative. There was a lot of religious backgrounds in my upbringing. But now that I'm in college and I'm around so many different types of people, I'm kind of still figuring out how I want to pursue the second chapter of my religious life, or I shouldn't even say second because there might be many chapters and it could continue to change. So yeah, the future is unknown for me.
Cool. I don't know. Have you ever explored any other religions or philosophies I don't know, really in depth or for an extended period of time?
I wouldn't say that I studied any other form of religion or truly in depth, but I'm always open to learning about them. And I've I have so many friends from other religions, and I ask them about their experiences and their values. So I'd say I have a moderate understanding.
Cool. Yeah, I guess so you talked about identity crisis. I'll tell you, I I studied Buddhism really intensely for a year, and I felt such an identity crisis because Judaism is really important to me, both identity wise and values and family, and I really identified with a lot of the values that I was exposed to in my studies of Buddhism, and I was like, oh my goodness, am I a Buddhist? Am I Jewish? Am I a Jubu? Can I be both? Do I are these? And then there's also something I really want to believe, and I do believe, is the universality of religion. I think that all these different religions, Islam, Buddhism, Judaism, Taoism, if that's a religion, I think that they share 90% of the same values that are, it's kind of hard to quantify it, but I think they're all just so similar, and they're just, these worldviews are just seen with different cultural lenses. I often compare, I guess, this strain of thought with this book I really like, Joseph Campbell's A Hero with a Thousand Faces. It talks about how stories have been passed down since cavemen told stories around a campfire, and slowly these different stories branched out into different societies and cultures and informed different religious mythological stories and ideas, and they all come from the same root. So yeah, that's something I do believe in.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty cool, and I would say I agree with it for the most part. In terms of values and fundamentals, we all share a common core, and it really just it becomes different when you get traditions and there's cultural activities involved where
Yeah.
things get kind of controversial.
Yeah, definitely. Something that I learned about psychology, and I understand you study psychology, is that
Yeah.
they're like in terms of psychoanalysis. Let's see if I can link these two conversations. In terms of psychoanalysis, there's many different approaches. There's, I guess, I don't know, Jungian and Freudian and all kinds of different psychoanalytic theories have been published since those two great people. But something I learned is that it doesn't necessarily matter which approach to psychoanalysis you use with a patient in psychotherapy, as long as you stick to one strain of thought, really, because otherwise, if you're borrowing principles from different theories of psychoanalysis, then basically you'll confuse the patient. And bringing it back, I think that has to do a lot with the way that we, teach our children our religious traditions. I think that, again, going back to this feeling of identity crisis that we both experienced, that I experienced with Buddhism is again, I think that they really share extremely similar values, even all religions. But if you stick to one, it gives you a lot more certainty in the way you should live your life. And if you do follow all those principles, you should lead a good life.
Wrap it up. Don't let her answer. Don't let her
Yeah,
answer.
that's really interesting. I could see where you're coming from with that.
All right. Any thoughts?
I think there are like a lot of parts that are true with that.
Hey, Sarit. Sorry to interrupt, but we passed the 30-minute mark, and
Damn, 30-minute mark.
Yeah, and it's easier to blame an objective thing than make it personal. But thank you so much for joining us on the show, and
Absolutely.
I'll send you something later.
Okay, it's nice talking to you, Sarit. I hope maybe we'll get the opportunity to talk more another time.
Yeah, this was really, really lovely. And I'd say, just, in terms of psychoanalysis, look into the psychodynamic theory, because that might help you perceive a better understanding of all the different types of therapies and how they can be combined. But yeah, that's the final thing I'll say with that.
Okay.
Thanks a lot. Maybe perhaps you two can meet or something next week. I'll talk to you later, Sarit. Bye.
All right. See you guys.
Sarit.
Bye.
Well, that's been a really great show today on the Listen Nissim show. We want to once again thank our incredible guest, Andy Hirsh, and may we only see days of clear skies in the future. And I'd like to present you with an official box top coupon as a gift of gratitude for coming on the show.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's really nice to get the opportunity to talk about these ideas.
All right. Anyone you want to thank before we sign off?
Well, how about the big man upstairs, my family,
Ooh.
Justin,
Ooh.
my brother, my friends, everybody that's supported me in this crazy venture I've been pursuing. Thanks you all for listening.
All right. You are listening to Nissim on the Listen Nissim show. Until next time, thank you so much. Have a great day.